See how the lead's sneaking under there? We do not do that. Okay. That was really kind of an old mechanic that they still kept in place for a long time. So in other words, on this play, the lead already has an open look at this.
Right there, yep.
The lead already has an open look at this. There's absolutely no need for the lead to sneak down and get closer to that play. Now, you're going to see the whistle come from the center, okay? If you're bending your, see how the center's bending their body? If you're trying to bend your body to see through a bunch of people or past a bunch of people, you probably don't have the open look to make the call. So that, again, that lead would have been a perfect position to make the call on the side anyway. There's no whistle coming from lead. Okay. So though that this help defender is the center's help defender, so you know what I mean by that? See where the help defender is coming from? It's coming from center, right? But the lead has a wide open look at that play and has the best. Notice how the lead, this whistle goes off immediately without really seeing the end of the play. So does he get moved a little? Yes. But does it affect him? So let's look at it this way. So this player, there's contact. He's trying to back off that contact. And the lead feels that this player put that ball in no problem. Okay. So center could try to stay away from that call. If you have a divergent view or you want to think something else about it, talk to me about it. Okay. Right. And if from this view, if you think that's a foul, well, that's a foul. Then from your view, okay.
Yeah, it looks like from the center's angle of, minor contact, he looks straight lined. So yeah. I don't know if he's making a reactionary, kind of call on the defense.
Yeah. Well, he's making a slot because for sure from his side, what he gets to see is he gets to see this guy's arm past this, yes, and probably reaching through, right? And he gets to see that this guy, there was a little contact, but he really doesn't get to judge the effect of the contact.
Correct.
Right? The official that was able to judge should have the exact same view the camera has. But again, the reason the camera has such a good view is the camera was able to move there because this lead went underneath where he shouldn't have been. Okay. Yeah. So the official making that call should have been the lead because they would have had this view. And if you were the lead and you thought that was a foul, then you have your whistle on it. But it shouldn't have come from center. Okay.
Tim, just a quick question. This is maybe silly, but could there have been such thing as a double whistle for this one?
Yeah, you know what? I'm expecting that you people are going to have lots of double whistles.
Yeah, that's what I figured. If the lead did feel it was, then what's the double whistle process? Does lead point to center, similar to how, because it was coming kind of from someone else's direction?
This is so you're going to have a few more dual coverage areas than you'd have in two-person. So how do you handle the double whistle in two-person?
You get together.
Okay, you get together, Okay. Are there times that you settle it without having to get together?
Yeah, right away. If it's coming from that person's zone and they came in there, let the person who owned that player first. And if you have the same call, point to them and say, "You got it, partner." Give it to them right away when you know that they have a call.
The thing that FIBA's always talked about, and we still talk about, is you want the primary official to handle all obvious calls in their area, okay, in their primary area. So you have to understand whose primary area it is. But here's the thing that we're teaching more and more, whether it's 2-person or 3-person, just general officiating. The official with the open look, best open look, the official that has had the longest look at the play. So if lead was covering this play properly and the crew was covering this play properly, okay, the most open look is leads, and he has the longest look at the play. Right. So if we had a double whistle there, you know, I would expect that, okay, our lead would take it. Okay. So, and you could just go mine, not mine, that. Okay. You could point to them, and that the thing about pointing is pointing almost looks like you're directing somebody else. I think if you get in the habit of understanding whose call it should be, and you go, got it, mine. Okay, so you're not giving calls away, you're making calls. Small distinction. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Totally. Thank you. For sure it does, yeah.
All right, let's watch this one.
En nær ekki skilja í niður, Telma með góða baráttu um boltanum og Emilíu. Það þarf að ganga erfiðlega hjá Emilíu að fá tveggja körfu en hún fær 2 víti hins vegar.
So is that playing okay? So I'll play it through fully and then we'll break it down again.
Yeah, the video's playing fine.
En nær ekki skilja í niður, Telma með góða baráttu um boltanum og Emilíu. Það þarf að ganga erfiðlega hjá Emilíu að fá tveggja körfu en hún fær 2 víti hins vegar. Barátta þarna hjá Telmu.
Jóhanna komið með 3 villur.
Okay. Okay. Now, on this play, the lead starts out with a good view of it, right? It starts to come middle. Okay. So at this point, okay, if there was contact by this defender, okay, you would have trail with a great look at that, okay, as well as center. Now, center, it looks like a couple of players might be in their way. You probably could have position adjust a step down. It appears that there's head contact there. Okay. Now, it so happens that the head contact ends up opening up for the lead. The center easily could have had a call on that. And if the lead, if they don't have a whistle, the center should have a whistle. Okay. So get in the habit of, if there's fouls on the center side, let's get the center involved in the game and making calls. Now, I want to do that. Notice on the rebounding, it doesn't show the very beginning of the clip, but when the shot went up, the lead was in a close down. when the rebounding happened, notice that the lead is stepping out, taking a step back. That's the, again, referee from outside in to give a better field of vision in the rebounding. So the lead isn't officiating rebounding from this closed down position. The lead is officiating rebounding from their kind of normal setup position. Okay. And again, the idea is this. The lead isn't looking for rebounding fouls over here. The lead is looking for rebounding fouls right in front of them. The trail is looking for rebounding fouls here. And the center is looking for the rebounding fouls here. Okay. So the same thing. Now, there's two matchups that you don't have to worry about. This person isn't crashing the boards. This person isn't crashing the boards. This person isn't crashing the boards, right? So we have immediate matchup. We basically have 3 rebounding matchups, and we have 3 sets of eyes on the 3 matchups. Okay. So on rebounding, we're not just looking at an area on rebounding. We're trying to identify the matchups in the rebounding that we are covering. Okay. And officiate those. And how I explained it to someone last night is, if you're actively identifying the matchups you have, you're now processing the play from the start of the play. If you're just looking at an area and then some contact happens or something, now you're reacting to that and you really don't have as good a view of the whole play. So on rebounding, instead of looking at an area, what you're doing is identifying the matchups that you should have based on where the players are rebounding from. Please let me know if that doesn't make sense to anybody. Please put your hand up or ask me the question. Okay. But this would be a good example of showing where we don't always have 5 matchups going to the boards. This would be a perfect example of this official is responsible for these 2 players. This official is responsible for these 2, and this official is responsible for these 2. So the 3 rebounding matchups are handled by our 3 crew. How come that looks like the other one? Okay. All right, let's do this one.
Pétur Rúnar, búinn að vera algjörlega frábær frá með öðrum leikluta. Það þarf að fara hérna á Magnús Bjarka, en Magnús Bjarki gerir aðeins svo mikið, nuddast í honum og fær dæmt á sig villu.
Það er mjög áhugavert að Hrafn er að koma oft með Magnús Bjarka inn á í þriðja leikluta. Til dæmis spilaði ekkert núna í fyrra leik, en að koma núna í þriðja leikluta.
Okay, now if
Pétur Rúnar, búinn að vera algjörlega
so who makes this call?
frábær frá með öðrum leikluta. Það þarf að fara hérna á Magnús Bjarka.
The lead makes the call. Okay. Should the lead have been making that call?
No.
Okay, that would be the good question, is no. Okay, now because it's a wide open set, so in other words, there's not many players here. That's actually one of the only matchups the lead has right now. Can people see that? There's no other white in that area. Okay, right? So, but this primary matchup, okay, out here, okay, you'd have, if that's where the lead is, you have your center here, right? Over here. Okay? So your center has that matchup. Okay. Now the center probably could have position adjusted a little better, but maybe he felt that if he position adjusted, he was getting blocked out. So he could have position adjusted a step towards the middle, right? To look down this way past this player. Okay. But that would have been center's call. Now, the center didn't have a call, okay? We can see from the angle that he definitely was fouled. Okay. But this isn't an angle any of the officials have, right? That's the advantage of when the ball was up here, and I'm not saying how long it's been up there. If it had been up there for a while, we should have had a rotation happening. Because if we had had a rotation, who would have a look at this right now?
The lead.
Lead would have had a great look at that, right? Now, even though lead would have had a look at that, it's still a secondary call by the lead. So in other words, this official was still primary responsible. But it appears at the point of contact, they were straight line. Okay. So what did I say about coming out of your area? If you come out of your area, it's generally going to be when you have an open look with a high degree of certainty and it hasn't been called by the other official. Do all three of those apply here? I would say yes. Okay. Obvious foul. Okay. Open view, not called by the primary official. So someone asked me yesterday about coming out of your area. Is that a decent breakdown based on this video? Anybody?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So again, if they'd been there a while, we could have had a rotation beforehand. Okay, we end up getting it. It was a foul. Now that's a tough get because if there'd been a bunch of people in the way, as a crew, we might have missed that foul. Okay. Okay, let's look at this one.
Þjálfarnir kunna meta það, stuðningsmenn sjálfsögðu. Já, Kremer brota honum og hann
Okay.
dregur þessu svona að spjaldinu og það leikur boltinn ofan í. Þrýstu þessu niður, getur við sagt.
Það voru bæði Ólafur Helgi.
All right, so we had a nice strong call from who?
Lead.
Was there any contact on that play at all?
I didn't see any.
Minimal, if any, minimal.
Minimal, if any. Okay. So let's look at why this happened. Okay. Here's the drive.
It was a marginal reach.
Okay. So on this original drive, okay, as this play started to attack the basket up here, who's responsible for this matchup right now?
Trail.
Trail. Okay. So Trail's responsible for that matchup. As the ball got dumped to here and this cutter came, I think you can make a good argument for who should be responsible for that. Center. Okay. Now, again, three-person, sometimes the lead ends up with open looks at things that because we have a lot of high or four across up top, right? So it's not till later in the play, but the lead still has to understand that. Okay. Yeah, the lead still wants to follow that to the basket. Okay. But as this play gets beat, okay, there's no, if their help defender had come from this side, okay, the center would have been tough. It would have to pick that up. But the center is really refereeing still this play going to the basket. He's refereeing this side of the play. Okay. If this help defender had come over, who would have been responsible for that help defender?
The lead.
The lead. So here's another thing. As the drive happens, yeah, see? So he's stepping back, but let's be patient, right? And if you didn't have a full look, because you don't have an open look at that. You don't have an open look to see what happened there. All right. So you got to trust the partner, the person that had the open look at that play to make that call or not. Okay. So trail, center, center. And that place you just finished. Okay. All right. So here's kind of what we're talking about in that, right? Play starts in center's area. Okay. Attacks the middle of the court. Okay. Has that play to the basket, stays engaged with the play. Okay. If it's a foul by this primary defender, we should have that called by the center. Okay. If it's a secondary defender coming from over here, should be the leads. And if there is contact that the center can't see on this side, okay, don't guess, this lead should pick it up. Remember, so here's our principle of starting in center, going to the basket. Center sticks with it on the primary defender. Secondary defender is going to be our lead, but we're also calling the play from whatever open look we have. Okay.
Tim, quick question.
Yep.
Any time would the trail in this scenario have an opportunity or maybe even responsibility to make a call on this one, like a double whistle with the lead, if anything?
So if there was a help defender coming from here, so this is how I'll tell you how it would get. So let's say there's a help defender coming from this side. If it comes down to here, that's a tough call for the trail to make.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Unless you've positioned adjust with a great look down, and there's a help defender. He tries to squeeze, and this player tries to squeeze in between two people, and it's down low, and the lead can't see contact across the arm. Center can't see contact across the arm, and the trail can. Okay, so I'm not going to say that they would never have a call. Okay. But we shouldn't be thinking that we're chasing the play in as coming down from the far side as trail down to the basket. We want to stay engaged with plays. Now that's different if it's coming down from our side, okay? Because we're going to have that primary defender. So hopefully we'll do it this one. Okay, so let's look at this. So here's that play. If it's coming down this side, right? You've got the primary defender as trail, secondary defender as lead. You're going to keep that to the basket, okay? There's a double whistle that involves the primary defender. The trail's going to take that, okay?
Okay, thanks. That makes sense.
That said, there is a very off chance that if a help defender comes from this side and there's contact by that help defender, who's going to take that?
Center.
Center. So you've got to identify the defenders that you're responsible for. And plays you're responsible for. Okay. And I just put this diagram at the bottom, and that's our functional overlapping vision cones to let you know, yeah, so this is understanding, who has a look at what. And that can change, right? Right. So coverage drive weak side, we've already talked about that, starting to go to the center. Okay, and we've talked about that. Lead would have a secondary defender. Okay, if it happened to be high, okay, that secondary defender, this person gets beat, and that secondary defender is challenging right here, and it was trail's primary defender coming to help, who would have that? The trail. So in other words, there's somebody coming up here, comes off their player and contacts this player as they drove around. I wouldn't expect the lead to have that. I would expect the trail who had that initial matchup to have that. Okay. So what we've been talking about is, okay, all our coverage is based on, it's not just based on primary area. Primary area is a guide. Okay. It's based on the play situation and the relative positioning and the quality of the look of the officials. And it says open or closed, but also how long. Okay. So there's a, let's say, look at this play. So this lead originally has this. Okay. You've got the ball coming. They've got the post matchup. Okay. The ball comes in. Okay. This player, okay, starts to spin middle. Okay. Once they start spinning middle, who has the open look? For contact on this side. So center. So if they spin middle and come over here and there's a foul, I would expect the center to have that. Now, I get it. We're used to it's down in the paint and that there's post spinning middle. Are we going to have a bunch of double whistles here? Yes. Okay. Right. As I said, let's get the fouls. Let's not miss obvious fouls. And let's just this weekend sort it out. Okay. Again, this is for many, this is a first kind of go at the three person. Okay, so here's what they call a 1-2-3 play. And I almost had a video of one of those in one of those videos that we showed. Here we go. Plays here. Okay. Lead has it, starts to spin this way. There's a chance if there was another defender coming to help over here, okay, that the lead now gets blocked out. And for this part of the play, let's say someone also reached in from up here, okay, trail would have that. And then when it gets over to this side, potentially the center may have it. So there are plays where, depending on what it was happening and how the makeup was, that a different official would have the open look at each part of that play. Please let me know if that makes sense to you. Someone tell me if it doesn't. So does that mean I expect that we're going to have some double whistles? I'd rather have us have double whistles than miss plays. Okay. But what's good about three person is you really have to start training yourself that if I don't have a good look at this, I shouldn't be making the call. Okay. So that's all I'm going to talk about for coverage. Does anybody have a specific question you want to talk about coverage? Any of the diagrams I just showed or the videos? Did someone have a question?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right. Okay. So three-point shot coverage. Okay. So they quote dual coverage area. So that's going to really depend on how you've done your pregame. Okay. So a lot of the time we talk about, okay, if the ball's in trails position and starts coming over here, that the center's not going to take it until they get this far over. Okay. Or past the lane. So if that's the case and the center isn't on the shooter and it's shot from here, well, obviously the trail should indicate the three-point shot. Okay. Conversely, if the center's on the play right here and the shot's taken from that matchup from here, the center should be indicating that. Okay. Okay. Right. Ball goes in. We both acknowledge that the ball went in. Both center and trail. Okay. Now, rebounding coverage, we've already talked about it. Lead. Take a step back, right? If you're in close down, okay, take a step back, all right? Get a nice wide angle. Identify your rebounding matchups, okay? So lead covers the matchup close to the basket, closest to them. You shouldn't be covering the matchup on the other side of the basket. Okay. Trail and center, identify the active matchups you have to have for your rebounding. Okay. So in a play like this, okay, lead would have here primarily. Okay. The shot was taken from here. The lead would be that little step further out and would have this matchup primarily. Okay. The trail is picking up the people crashing from the outside on the trail side, and the center's picking up the matchup crashing from the center side. Okay. So again, and I talk to people in two-person about this all the time. Are you simply looking at an area for rebounding, waiting for something to happen? Or are you actively moving your eyes to which matchup you should be covering? And which one is, so one, you're actively involved in the play, one, you're reacting to the play. Okay. So start to train yourself. And in two-person, that often means you have two matchups, right? So you get a good position. Hopefully you put both of them in your central field of vision. Okay. And you referee them. Okay. Right. Center shot from up here. Okay. He's on shot coverage. Okay. In this case, the lead is going to have to extend across the key originally, because if these people are battling all the way to the basket, the center's not leaving this until when the shooter's gone up, down, okay, and there's no further play. Right. So in this case, the lead has these two immediate matchups, and the trail is picking up this matchup. And we have one that's not involved there. Okay. Fast break coverage. We've already talked about that. Lead. Same as two-person. Let's get ahead of the play. Let's keep an open angle. Okay. And stop on the end line. Okay. Stop just off the end line. Okay. Now, if it's a fast break, I often see people talk to them in two-person. We tend to be looking back at the ball carrier. Find your defender. The bottom line, one of our IoTs, referee the defense. Take your eyes to the defender while keeping the offense in view. If it's a straight, oh, they've already got beat, okay, then that lead, you're looking a little past the ball carrier to that trailing defender. Referee the defender doesn't mean that you keep looking ahead of the ball carrier. You've got to know what that defender's doing. So you've got to process any contact from behind by that defender. Okay. On a fast break, you want your center to hustle down there. Doesn't matter what side of the play it is. You want two officials to be able to officiate that going to the basket if possible. Okay. So again, lead, trail to new lead, get there quickly. Center, get down there. Okay. If it was coming from center's side, okay, center could have that play all the way to the basket. Okay. And lead would help out. Okay. If it's coming down lead side, lead has that play to the basket, and center could help out from their view. Okay. So as possible, we want to have two officials officiating that to the basket if possible. Okay. So free throws. I don't like doing this, but I'm going to. I truly believe in this diagram that as center, think about being that one step further up. And the reason I say that is this, okay? Be in the same position all the time. So if that third offensive rebounder was in this lane space, do you have a view to the other side of the key from here? No. So by being that one step higher, even if that third defender is here, you can look past that defender, pick up your primary coverage, and still have the free throw in and the shooter. Okay. As always, lead is covers opposite, and the trail is responsible for everybody outside the arc. In the case where on the last free throw, there's a bunch of players going down the floor already or position themselves there, you can't have the trail here and then looking back here. So our trail is going to position, adjust, and set themselves up to be able to cover play that involves these four players in this case, right? And the lead and center would have our rebounding responsibilities. Okay. So if they've got 4 players, 2 players all the way down the court or partway down the court, okay, our trail has to adjust for that. Last second shot coverage. Okay. C or trail, center or trail, opposite the shot attempt, has primary clock responsibility. Okay. So this official is occupied refereeing the actual play, refereeing contact. Okay. So kind of counterintuitive, this official has primary responsible for shot clock. Okay. And vice versa. Okay. If you have to get together, immediately share the information. Okay. Okay, Susan. All right. And we're not using replay. So don't worry about the instant replay. Reporting fouls. Okay, so general reporting. We're looking to minimize switches if possible in 3-person, and I'm going to get to that in a second. We're looking to minimize the distance. So those of us who still in 2-person go all the way to the table to report, we don't need to do that. Okay, our normal reporting is we should be clearing the pack or most players with a open view line to the table and making a report. We should have a sharp walk. And it's interesting, like FIBA talks about their image of some of you have heard me say this before. What are the 3 words that describe FIBA's image of an official? What are the 3 words? I know some of you just took training with me and I said it every single time, so someone's going to get it.
Strong, decisive, approachable.
Strong, decisive, approachable. So we say sharp walk. Well, why don't we say strong, decisive walk? Right? We say crisp. We say sharp. In other words, we say walk with a purpose. Okay. So don't just meander somewhere. Okay. Use a clear voice. We back up everything with our voice. And I will say sharp, I'd say strong, decisive signals and in rhythm. Those of you who just took the NOCP 1, we talked about reporting and rhythm. Do we remember what that rhythm is? So you come to a stop, take a breath. Blue, and in our heads, 1, 2. 15, 1, 2. Hits, 1, 2. 2 throws or direction. Okay. So FIBA talks about a 1-2 rhythm. Okay. And how you report so you don't hurry through things. Okay. So if play is resumed by a throw in, so in 2-person, what happens when you call a foul?
You go to trail.
You go trail. Okay. So in 3-person, okay, if you call a foul, okay, and play is resumed by a throw-in, the referee who calls the foul and reports goes opposite the table, but depending where the ball is, you might be C or T. Okay. because now we have 3 officials there. So depending, if the ball is on the opposite the table, you're going to go to T, right? Because the throw-in is opposite the table, you're going to have lead and trail opposite the table. If the throw-in is on table side, though, when you go opposite, you're going to be C because you're going to have a lead and trail on table side. Okay. Again, please let me know if that has to be clarified. Okay, if it doesn't.
Repeat that again, Tim.
Yeah, okay. So if you had call a foul and the throw-in is and the throw-in is going to be on the table side, you're going to go opposite the table. Well, but the only official that's going to be opposite of the table is going to be C. Because if the throw-in is table side, you're going to have the lead and trail on that side. So you're going to be opposite the table, but you're going to be in C. If the throw-in is going to be opposite the table, you're going to go to trail because you're going to have 2 officials opposite the table on ball side. And you're going to go opposite to trail. Okay. And I've got a few diagrams, all right? If the players are zoomed by a free throw, the referee is always going to go trail because on free throws, the lead and trail are opposite the table. Okay, so how does this work? Okay. So here's a foul right here. Okay. So where's the throw-in going to be? It's going to be here, table side. Okay. So your lead, you've just made that foul call. Okay. It's not shooting. Okay. You go report. You then go opposite, okay, to center. And that center, who you're now replacing, is going to go become lead to administer that throw-in. And the trail doesn't have to move at all. So calling official reports and goes opposite. In this case, though, because the throw-in is table side, you'll have a lead and trail. So you're going to go opposite to center. Well, if you're going to center, then that center is going to go and take your place and go be lead. So here's another example.
Actually, Tim, quick question.
Yeah.
On the when the center becomes the lead,
yeah,
the throw-in is on the end line, what side would the lead then administer the ball? From the inside or from the outside?
Outside.
Okay, because I'm just checking from the diagram.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the diagram, this is the initial position. This is the position you go to.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. All right, so here we are. There's the ball in the front court. Oh, the trail calls the foul. Okay. So the trail would report, goes opposite, so it's going to go to center, and the center is going to go over and administer the throw in here. So in this case, the lead doesn't have to do anything.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So now, okay, so now we're sitting here. The ball, here's our center. Okay, actually, sorry about this. So our lead calls foul. Okay. We're going to have a throw in though. We're going to have free throws though. Okay. So it goes reports. Well, free throws, we have a lead here. And so you're going to go report. And instead of going to center, you're going to trail because for the free throws, we have a lead and trail. And our trail becomes center. Okay. So the free throws. So remember in this case, before, okay, if there wasn't free throws, okay, we ended up center, right? But because there are free throws, we're now trail. So we've gone opposite the table to trail. Okay, so now we have foul here, okay, called by the trail, right? So the trail reports is going to go to trail over there. Center is going to come across the center. And lead is going to go over to lead. So we have our lead and trail to administer the free throw. Okay. So again, here, let's go back to our principles. If the play is resumed by a throw-in, the referee who calls and reports moves opposite to either center or trail. Okay. If the play is resumed by a free throw, the referee who calls is going to go opposite as trail. Okay. And that happened in those diagrams that we saw, right? There's something like 16 cases. Go take a look at the 3-person manual because I'm not going to walk us through all 16 cases. I gave you the basics. Okay. Now, when I said we try to minimize switches sometimes, okay, when a foul is called in the backcourt or an offensive foul in the front court, okay, if the official doesn't have to go, if the official is already opposite, we don't switch. Okay. So here's the examples of that. Okay. So called in, it's an offensive foul or there's a foul in the backcourt. Okay. So it's called by, okay, here's our lead, calls an offensive foul. Okay. The lead has to go opposite. Okay. So in this case, the lead would report and then has to go opposite. Okay. And would end up as center. The C would come here and be the trail, and the trail is just our new lead. Okay. But remember, the calling official has to go opposite. So now let's look at this example though. Okay. If the lead calls that offensive foul over here, though, they're already opposite. So all they have to do is report, and they're going to go back here, and everybody keeps their relative positions. Okay. So there's no switches involved in this play. Okay. Because our calling official is already opposite. Same as if the trail called that offensive foul. Okay. Or the trail called, then the trail would just report and would stay there and go lead. And our lead would become trail in the same position and our center would be the same. Okay. So in the backcourt, if we're reversing direction and you're already opposite, we're not going to have to switch. Okay. Again, do I expect that we're going to have some switches messed up? So yes, I do. So if we make an incorrect switch, just stay there. As long as we have 3 officials in the position of lead, trail, center, don't go out of your way to now run across and switch with someone else and make it look like we don't know what we're doing. If we happen to get a switch wrong one time, as long as we end up with 2 officials ball side and 1 opposite, let's go with it. And just try to get better next time. That is a very quick introduction to switches. Okay. And rotations. As I said, look at the 3PO book manual. It's online on the FIBA website, right? They also have advanced manual and intro to three-person manuals. They all cover the switches, right? As there's 16 different scenarios, just walk through them. They all come down to the same three principles, okay? If it's a throw-in foul in the front court that's staying in the front court, and there's no throw-in, you're going to go, calling official goes center or trail, depending on what side it is. If it's free throws in the front court, you're going to go trail, okay? And in the back court, if there's an offensive foul or in reverse and plays reversing, and we're already opposite, then we don't have to switch. But walk yourself through the manual, and I would, in your pregame, I would talk about rotations, and I would talk about switches, right? That said, is there any questions that someone can think of right now about switches? Okay. Timeouts. Same 3 timeout positions that we have always, okay? Depending where the ball is, if it's going to be free throws here, free throw here, or it's closer to the end line here, or closer to the end line here, here's our 3 positions, okay? Notice that our officials are in kind of a little triangle, okay? That's, and that's so that we can talk, not 3 across and trying to like look at each other across each other's shoulder, okay? Now, we don't always do this as well in 2-person. This is how we should do it in 3-person. So we choose a timeout position nearest to where the player resume, okay? Now, we're not going to have a dance troupe or anything like that this weekend. So just pick the timeout position closest to where the play is going to be resumed. Okay. At 20 seconds, because we have 2 team benches, whoever's going to go administer the free throw, okay, is going to go administer to the administration spot. The other 2 officials are going to go to one bench each. And at 10 seconds, we're going to try to get them out of their huddles. Okay. The idea is to have them on the floor at the end of the timeout.
Tim, except for the last 2 minutes.
Question, Tim.
What's that?
I
just had a question, Tim, but you want to go ahead first?
Yeah, so quick question for the ball, except for the last 2 minutes. Did we place the ball on the floor, or where the where it's going to be a throw in?
Put the ball where it goes. Okay, so put the ball on the floor for something like for Toronto Pan Am. I would say put the ball on the floor a few feet in on the floor, so that people don't kick it or something like that walking along the sidelines, because that can happen. Okay, so put the ball at the point of the throw-in.
So, Tim, at the end of timeouts, do we necessarily want the crew chief always administering after the timeout, or
no? You should have the official. You should have the official that should be administering. That was set up beforehand. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Any other questions? Okay,
Hi,
good.
Tim. I have a question. Sorry.
Okay, so someone has a question or comment.
I have a question. Can you hear me okay?
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me okay, Tim?
Barely.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Just let me know if it's okay now.
Yeah, okay, let's go.
Okay, so my question is in the last 2 minutes,
Yeah.
and timeout is called on the team that was scored upon. When you're administering the ball and they want to do it front court, does the crew chief automatically take that ball to administer it front court status?
Yes, in the FIBA mechanic, the crew chief should be administering that.
But everything above the 2 minutes, it would be whoever is the one that had the, like, you'll go back into your normal
Yes,
positions.
just
Okay.
go back to where you were.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay. I assume everybody understands and knows what we're talking about at the 2 minute, in the last 2 minute procedure of the crew chief asking the coach if it's a timeout situation in the backcourt where if they're going to advance the ball or not. Okay. So we're doing that every game, so I'm pretty sure everybody knows that. Okay. Reminders, front court throw-ins, and that's simply that our trail is going to mirror the chop in. Okay. This says whistle can hand or bounce the ball to administer. I know some people are told, oh, always hand on the offensive end line. What I'm going to say is this. If we want distance and stationary as is IoT, then doesn't it make sense to already have your distance and be stationary and bounce the ball as possible? The throw-in is right here, then you're going to hand the ball because you're not going to take the extra steps further out than that. But the idea is that distance and stationary and already have the field of vision that you need to cover the play. Okay. So hopefully what you've gotten out of this so far in the 2 nights is when I talk about 3-person, we're talking about how our IoTs relate and are involved in everything we do. Okay. Our IoTs, especially for any game. Okay. Distance and stationary. Referee the defense. Stay with the play. Okay. Open angles. Position adjust. Okay. Those are involved in everything we do. Front court end line throw in. Here's a video. Now, again, some of you have been told to hand all the time. If you were at the NOC at the on-court stuff, it doesn't really matter whether you bounce with 2 hands, 1 hand, etc. But to me, these are professionals. I don't referee that level, right? But if you're going to be backing out, why aren't we already in position? Why are we taking the extra 2 steps? Tell them where to go. Now, the last step here, and it's actually the first step. And what I mean by that is this. What did we learn in the NOCP classes about what are we doing before we administer the throw-in? What should this official be doing? So come up with a few things that, what's that?
Checking on his partners and make sure they're all ready to go.
Okay, checking on their partners, but we talked about it's not just partners. What should we check?
Table clock.
Looking for the matchups, Tim.
Okay,
Table clock.
Yeah. So I'm gonna add that. So all of those things. So we talked about before you administer any throw-in. Okay, check the table. Okay, check the table, and that's for substitutions. But it also might be just, oh, I've just checked the arrow, just check the foul. Check your could be the foul count that you're checking, etc. Whatever. Check the table. Clocks. So, in other words, before he inbounds his ball, okay, he should know that there's 105 left, okay, on the game clock and 6 seconds on the shot clock. Okay. Then we're checking our partners. Okay. And then, as someone else said, we're looking for matchups. We're checking the play and the players. So, in other words, by the time he should be by stationary standing here. Oh, it's 7:03. Sorry, now it's cleared. Okay. This official already knows that. Okay. The score is 7-5. Okay. There was no substitutions at the table. Already knows there's 7:03 on the clock, 6 on the shot clock. Okay. My partners are ready and in position. And who am I covering? I've got this spot, and I might be looking here also. So already identifies and knows what's happening on the play. Okay. Okay, and that is a very brief introduction to three-person. There's a nice big, any questions? Is there anything you can think of right now? A good thing to do is now, Peter said he's going to send out a detailed pregame. And so, and I would go into as much detail as possible that first time. And all weekend, right? If you haven't done it a lot. Talk about the switches a little. Okay. Talk about your rotations. Talk about your three-point coverage. Okay. Talk about all those things. Right. And then try to check them. Now, even with that all in mind, we have to referee the game. Right. So get in position, referee the defense, open looks. Okay. Quality calls. So the only thing I'll say about the pregame that you asked about, Maria, Peter's going to send that out. If you're a crew chief and you're not the most experienced person, it's still the opportunity for you to say, oh, let's go over this sheet. And Peter mentioned it. Everybody should be involved. Okay. So it should be a bit of a discussion. Okay. And if you have some tools there with you, like the pregame or a board or something like that, or some diagrams or the manual, use them and talk about them. Okay. Talk about the three-person, but also talk about some important things, especially this is Division 1, right? Or 2. So talk about game control. Okay. So you should be talking about how you're handling the benches, how you're handling the players, okay? Potential situations that can come up. Talk about what you're going to do if there's an unsportsmanlike foul. Okay? Talk about what you're going to do if there's a technical foul. Okay? Really talk about how you're going to communicate as a crew. Okay? And then talk about the criteria about how you're going to call fouls. Okay. What constitutes a foul? What I would say is this. We all say something like, oh, let's clean up the hand checking. Okay. But I just said that out loud, and I bet you we've got 22 people on this, and we probably have at least 5 or 6 different views about what they think a hand checking foul is. So if you haven't worked with somebody before and you're pre-gaming, do something like put your hand out on somebody and push them or move them or something and say 2 hands is a foul. This is a foul. So let's try to get, if possible, the same visual picture. And then when we're calling fouls in the game, try to take that snapshot in your head or that process in the play. And when you talk about it as a crew, try to build that common understanding and common criteria for fouls. Okay. So a lot to cover right in that pregame. We're going to cover our 3-person stuff. We're going to talk about our IoTs. We're going to talk about criteria and what goes into a quality call. And we're going to talk about game control. Okay. Does that cover what you wanted covered, Maria?
Yes, Tim, thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions for me right now? Again, as I said, we're going to make mistakes out there this weekend, right? Just kind of own the mistake and just keep going, move on, right? Oh, I should be over there. You should be over there. Oh, we're not. Okay, we're putting the ball in play. We got a lead in a trail and a center. Put the ball in play. Okay, right. Oh, I should go over there. You know, so try to get things right. Don't draw extra attention to yourself. Okay. Look to rotate. And what I generally say with crews, if I'm a crew chief, is let's try to rotate early. And we might even have a couple of, let's say, useless rotations. And what I mean by useless is they're 4 wide out. Just, you know, especially if it's a new person, I want you to get used to rotating, going across. Okay. And then maybe we have to rotate back. Right. Because you don't learn things when you're not doing them. Okay. Right. We learn things by doing. Okay. But we will have games where, you know, there might be the way they set it, or one team, it so happens that there are no fouls and the ball's coming down the same side for a bunch of time, and they're running the same kind of plays, and we don't have a lot of rotations, right? So again, look to rotate. If you're really unsure, don't force it. Okay. Think about, you know, and stay with plays, right? We want to get the obvious fouls. If there's an obvious foul, okay, that's missed and you had an open look at it that you should be looking at. So in other words, you're not center and the ball's in the far corner with lead and trail and you're 60 feet away and you think it's an obvious foul and you're blowing your whistle. We're not doing that. But if it's a foul on that side that's obvious and the lead's primary and they're straight lined and the trail has a good look at that with an open look and high certainty, they're going to make that call. And we're going to talk when we're first starting out in 3-person. Same principle as 2-person. They talk about a primary whistle. So if it's you're coming set as out of your area to get a call, okay, to give a pause, have a slight pause in your whistle, okay, and for that primary official to call it. Okay. So again, do I expect there'll be a bunch of double whistles this weekend? Yes, I do. So just take the feedback that you're probably going to get because you're going to have a lot of experienced people talking to you about should have been a cadence whistle or primary whistle, etc. And that just go, okay. And just take what they tell you and work on it. But we want to, it's way better to have a double whistle on an obvious foul, okay, than miss that foul. Okay. Does anybody have a question, specific question, or want me to comment on anything I haven't commented on? Okay. All right, everybody. I will see you on Friday. I'm going to try to get there early in that. I'm going to sit in and listen to a couple of pre-games, etc. in that. And let's have some fun this weekend.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you.
All right, everybody.
Thank you, Tim.
Have a good couple of days, and I'll see you on Friday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Tim.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Well,
See you guys this weekend.
yeah.